Jack Fleming Artistry here. I've got to make an 8-foot circular sign out of two 4-foot by 8-foot pieces of material, and I wanted to show you how I do that. I will show you I am cramped on space because I moved to my garage from my shop that I had, and I'm still unpacking as I'm still trying to keep up workflow. Alright, so the first thing I did is I measured center, both top and bottom, using a 4-foot straight edge. After that, I hammered this nail here right at center. I'm now going to take this string and I'm going to tie a loop here that goes around the nail and another loop at exactly 4 feet that goes around my Sharpie. Basically tied a granny knot to make a loop here on this end, and then on the other end I used what's called a taut line hitch so that I can adjust the length with that. Then you put your Sharpie through the hole, pull a little bit of tension, and go ahead and draw. Alright, we've now got our circle that we can use to cut on. That's my ball I have so that if I pull my car in, I don't hit the wall. Alright, so I'm a little cramped in here, but I'm making it work. I've taken that sign, put it on a table. Got my saw here that I'm going to use to go ahead and cut this out. Just going to follow that line that I drew. I'll end up sanding the edges. Got one more of these to do. I think the new direction that you're going to see with the channel here that I really kind of like is, hopefully this is a little bit more relatable to a lot of people, I think. There's a lot that we can do in our own garage, in our own environment. You don't have to have a big shop. For me, that was a lot of overhead. Cutting down on that overhead, trying to save up money to buy a house and build my own shop at some point in time. But again, we get to do this DIY kind of way of doing stuff here, which is cool. Same way I'd have done it in the shop, just would have had more room. This is my least favorite way to cut this material, and I'll show you why. The saw heats up and it ends up melting all this stuff as it's cutting. It's really not a big deal, but the other ways that I cut it, all we got to do is just sand it off. I'm honestly just going to use an old piece of Scotch-Brite, wrap it around the edge, and wipe it down. Alright, I've got these laid out. I'm going to peel the film off of them. They got a protective film on them. I'm going to give them a light sanding using the Scotch-Brite, and then I'm going to roll out some paint on them. Alright, so I have both of these sanded down, just lightly scuffed. Adds a little bit more tooth whenever we go to paint. Since I did just do that though, there's a little bit of dust from that on there. I want to clean that off. I'm going to use a wax and grease remover and a glass cleaner and get that prepped and ready to roll. Okay, let's talk about our materials real quick. If you noticed, the ACM, I believe it's called aluminum coated material. It's acrylic in the middle, it's aluminum on the outside. I have one piece that's green and one piece that's red. That's because this green piece right here is going to go blue-green. I'm hoping that having a green piece of material whenever I paint will make it to where it'll coat a little bit better. I'm not having to cover up a completely opposite color. It's something kind of close. The other red one is going to go vermilion, which is kind of like an orangey red sort of color. Now, I have a few more materials up here I'm going to show you. So that's the paint colors. Put those off to one side. I have a mixing cup. I'm actually going to mix my paint into this cup, and then I'm going to pour it into this to roll paint out. I keep these no matter what color I roll and just let it sit and dry in there. It becomes heavy. It actually keeps it from moving around. It's a trick that I learned when I used to paint houses. The next tool that I have here, and I'm calling it a tool, is hardener. I got this one from hardware store. It was like an Ace. I was out of town in a small place and it was the only kind that I could find. One Shot does make their own. It comes in a deal that's twice as tall as this, and for me, every single time I use it, I don't even use half of it before it starts getting too thick on me. So I like buying these smaller ones. I did hear word at one point in time that One Shot was going to start making a smaller one of these. I don't know if that's hearsay or what. Maybe they've already made it and I haven't found it yet. I also have, though, a popsicle stick that I'm going to use to stir this. I'll show you guys the measurements. And then I've got a foam roller. I like using these foam rollers because they don't leave a whole lot of texture. And I think I'm actually going to end up putting some ChromaFlow in this too, so it can level out a little bit more and have a little bit less texture to it. Okay, so here's my mixing cup, and I took a class with One Shot a little while back where they told me that additives can make up to about 15% of your paint. So I'm actually going to use this side right here that just shows me milliliters and ounces, and it goes up to 10 ounces. I'm hoping that I don't need quite that much on this, but I might. That's a lot of paint. That's a lot of money. Let's start off with mixing up 5, and then if we need more, we need more. Now, I did have somebody a while back tell me not to use a screwdriver whenever I stir my paint. That was here on the channel, and they didn't say why. And I'm totally game to not use one if I know why I shouldn't use it. The reason I use it on these big cans like this is because my little popsicle stick is going to get my fingers painty and covered in paint if I go all the way down to the bottom. So I need to sit here and stir this for a while. All of the oily stuff and everything is at the top, all the pigments at the bottom. I got to get it to one consistency. Now, while I'm sitting here stirring this, I might as well say something about why I say I don't mind not using a screwdriver if somebody tells me why. If you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know I'm kind of after having a little bit of community here. I'm sharing what I do. I'm still learning stuff all the time. I take into consideration what people tell me. I like to know why on stuff. It kind of helps. But I hope that on this channel, you guys will feel free and feel welcome to share comments about things that you know that are better than what I'm doing. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. Because other people read those comments and then they learn from them. And I learn from them. And we all grow together then at that point. At least that's my hopes. This is looking mixed now. Alright, so here's my cup. Let me do this. Tilt it that way. I'm actually going to use this, I think, to try and get this up to, I'm going to go up to 4 ounces. Because at 4 ounces, if I come up to 5 with stuff, that's 20%. And I don't want to come quite up to 5 because we know we don't want to exceed like 15%. But I can do somewhere around half of that would be 10%, and half of that is going to be more. So, you know what? This is going to take too long doing this way. I got another way to do it. Oh, I'm trying not to make a mess with my paint, but I know it's somewhat inevitable. I'm going to use a cup, and then I can pour, and I can look at that measurement as I'm pouring. Let's get this up over that, and I can tell when I get where I want. That's up to 1 ounce. Ooh. Making our way up. We are at almost 3 ounces. And stop right there at 4. Pour my excess back in there. Now, just to keep from making a mess, I'm just going to put this in here for the moment. I'll throw it away later. Now we're going to go to, where did I put it? Got my hardener, got my high temp reducer, which I didn't mention before, but my thinking is high temp reducer usually slows down dry time just a little bit. This stuff speeds up dry time just a little bit. Maybe between the two I can get it to bite in hard, gloss good, and then hopefully, I don't know what I was trying to say. Hopefully it'll dry in a good amount of time. It's been a little bit humid because of the rain. I've also got ChromaFlow here. I'm going to take my cup over the floor here, or a little closer. And again, I don't want very much of everything. Spilled a little bit on the floor there. Man, I had these cool little caps at one point in time that I got that were supposed to help keep it from spilling, make it easier to pour. And the issue that I had is I could not get them to not leak around the caps. So, not going with much here. Okay. Remember, I'm watching. I don't want to come up more than 4.5. I want more of this than I want the other stuff. Okay. Again, if I came up to 5, it'd be 20%. So we want to come up to about 4 3/4 should put us at about 15%. I believe that's pretty darn close to 4 3/4. I was also told at that one-shot deal that it's not an exact science. So there's some room for a margin of error. I don't know what the words are I'm looking for. We'll get this mixed up. I'll show you guys a couple of different things. I want to mix this up really well. One of the things I look for whenever I put additives into my one shot is the consistency. How does it drip off of my popsicle stick? And it's dripping pretty good. This is about what we want. Nice good stream there. I don't want it to come off too fast, and I don't want it to be really slow. So I believe that'll work. I actually think I'm going to do something a little bit different than what I was planning before. I am going to pour the paint out onto the surface and just roll from there. Might get someone in the comment telling me don't do that. Tell me why. Alright, I got my first coat down on this. I'm not doing a real second coat. I'm not letting it dry 24 hours and then coming back, which is what you really should do. But I know a little trick. And that's that I have a window of opportunity. If I can come in and second coat it at just the right time, my second coat won't pull up that first coat, and it won't encapsulate it, causing 2 coats to be drying through each other. It's a really small window, but I'm pretty sure I can hit it on this. I make observations while I'm painting. Something that I've observed on this, and I don't know if you can see it very well on here, but my second coat, there's a line right here, not my second coat. My first batch of paint, and then I made a second batch of paint. That one covered better than that one. I don't believe it's because of the mixture. I believe it's because the roller was more saturated with paint whenever I did this one. But I want to have enough paint whenever I come through and do this second coat that I can get it all in one so that they have the same opacity to them. Something that you can notice, okay, there's a little bit of texture you can see in the light there. That's going away as it's drying. The other thing, and I'm trying to see if I can find any left, and I can't, is bubbles. When you do this with a roller, you're going to get bubbles. One of the tricks that I use, and I'm not showing you, I'm just telling you, but it's got bubbles all over the place whenever I roll it. I wait just a little bit, let those bubbles settle some on their own, and then I come back holding that roller to where not even the weight of the roller is really on there. I'm kind of lifting some of that weight off. And just barely skimming the top of it, and it's popping all those bubbles without making new ones. I found you some bubbles. Those little bubbles right there. Those will go away. I'm not going to worry about it right now because I'm about to do that second coat, and I'll just skim over them real lightly then. Okay, show you guys real quick me getting rid of these bubbles. So I'm just barely, I'm kind of lifting off of the roller weight wise, just enough to where it's popping bubbles real gently, real slow. There's still going to be some bubbles. You got to trust your paint a little bit. By that, you know, the paint's going to gloss out. It's going to settle. It's going to smooth on its own. I call this laying off. laying off the paint. I believe it was a term taught to me when I used to paint houses. Alright, I got my little paint cocktail mixed up here for this one. I realized on the last one I used about 12 ounces of paint. It turned out, probably could have done it in 8 ounces if I'd have done it just right, which I'm going to try to on this one. I think this is going to cover better. But I thought this was a good time to talk a little bit about price. You get people asking me all the time about how to price stuff. And to be honest with you, I'm always reevaluating how I price stuff. Trying to get better, more accurate. I believe in fair pricing. And whenever I say that, that's fair to my customer, fair to me, fair to the market. Meaning the other people around me that also paint. I don't want to be undercutting them. I don't want to undercut myself. I don't want to overcharge my customer. So some of the things, and the reason why I bring this up right now, I will do a video really talking about pricing some more at another time. But I think there's something that we can talk about on this that's really a good visual aid on that. So this can of paint right here is a half pint. It's about as much paint as in this. This right here is, now that it's all mixed up, close to 10 ounces. I used 12 ounces of paint on the blue-green deal over there. Anyhow, that can is usually around $30. Put it back up here for visual aid. Right, about $30. The substrate that I'm on right here is $85. So in materials, right here and right here, what is that? 85 plus 30, going to be, oh, here I am trying to record, do math, and mix at the same time. Not really good. So let's see, 20, 30 plus 80 would be $115 worth of materials on this one half. We can double that because we got two of them, right? So we'll say $230 right there in materials, let alone solvents, right? $25 to $50 sometimes a can. We're not using very much. I could probably figure out the math on it, but I'm not really going to take the time to do that. Let's just throw another $5 out on solvents on this. So what are we at there? We said $230, $235. I've got my hardener. This thing cost about $25. Didn't use very much of it. Let's just throw in $2, right? So $237. I have somebody else printing my paper pattern for me because there was already design on this. That's $70 for their labor and materials. So we're a little over $300, right? Then, things to take into consideration: my time driving to go pick that paper pattern up, my time going to pick up the sign material on this, the gas for that, the wear and tear on my vehicle. All those things are to be considered. It'd be pretty easy to say that there's at least $40 worth of expenses in that kind of stuff on this, if not more. Not 40, I meant to say $400 altogether here. So there's different formulas out there for stuff. You could clock your hours, charge by the hour on your labor. Some people use a formula where they're like, materials should equal 1/3 of the total cost or 1/4 of the total cost. So if I figured out all that and it was $400, and let's say I made it 1/3, then we're $1,200. If I made it 1/4, right, $1,600. I had a buddy coming to help me. I got to pay him. Foam rollers, right? The roller itself. Everything costs money. So there are expenses into what it is that you're doing. Sometimes people don't think about that. They think, oh, it only took me so much time. Or some people undervalue themselves. And, you know, your skills count for something. If you're going by hours, how much does a plumber charge an hour? How much does an electrician charge an hour? A mechanic. And then think too, specialty wise, right? Are there more electricians and plumbers than there are sign painters, pinstripers? Should we make less an hour than them? Are we more or less specialized? Stuff to consider, things to think about. I'm not telling you what to charge on something. I'm trying to get your mind going on stuff. But like I said, we'll do a video on that another time. I have a way that I think I want to do that, and I'm not ready for it yet, but it should be really cool. So something to look forward to in the future. I gotta finish painting this. All right, I know it's hard to see on here, but the white paper that you see up has my pattern on it. I've got it on half sheet down here, half sheet up there. Trace it off with Surral paper. Y'all have seen me do that on the channel before. So I'm gonna do this and then we'll paint tomorrow. All right, my friend Tanner did come over and help me paint all of the cream color that you see there and a lot of the black. This sign had a short deadline to it, and I didn't shoot a whole lot of video footage of me painting, but I got a little bit of video footage here that my customer sent me of the finished job. Hope you guys enjoy this. As always, please hit like. Let me know in the comments what y'all think, and hope you guys have a good day. Keep painting. Bye.